Okay, we're here. Devin, talk for me once.
Are we live?
We're live. We're live. We're streaming.
What? Oh, look at us. My face even glowed for that because the lighting's great.
Yes, it is.
I
Uh,
missed it.
it'll just be the two of us tonight, but we're gonna go through, and this is gonna be fun. Uh, let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan,
And I'm Devin.
and today Devin finally gets to make us watch a movie again.
And what a movie.
And what a movie! We're going to be talking about the 2019 film Midsommar. But before that, we like to talk about things that we've watched in pop culture. We've been away for 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since our last show. Devin, have you watched anything in those last 2 weeks?
No.
Okay.
I've read. I traveled. I didn't do any watching. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yes, I have my voice back, kind of. It's. I'm trying.
It sounds like it's mostly there.
Yeah. So in those 2 weeks, I was at New York Comic Con. I didn't pull any graphics for this, but I wanted to talk about. I didn't really get to see anything at Comic Con, but I did get to see Samuel L. Jackson on Broadway, which was
Man,
amazing.
I am so jealous. Tell me, what was it? What was he in? Or was it just like, here he is on stage,
It
look at him for an hour
it
and a
was
half?
an August Wilson play called The Piano Lesson,
Ooh. Okay.
and it has him, Danielle Brooks from Orange is the New Black and Peacemaker,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
and Denzel Washington's son, whose name I keep forgetting. Um,
Benzel Washington.
sure. It's the three of them on the billboard, and then Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg in Justice League, is in it as well. And he
Amazing.
stole the show. But yeah, I got to see that with Josh and his wife. Got to spend a few days with Josh in New York City. Got to see a friend of the show, Bill, and his wife, and
Oh,
it was a lot of fun. David Washington.
I was close. I was
Yeah.
very close for the record. You forgot my favorite part of it. Our booth, or your booth there, was literally two booths away from my favorite author.
It was. I actually walked by
Oh,
and like took pictures for you, and I was
you
like,
did.
next year you're just gonna have to come to New York Comic Con. So
I think I'm gonna have to, especially because I heard that didn't Michael J. Fox show up
yeah,
this
Michael
year?
J. Fox was there. Brendan Fraser was there. I got a great pin that says I support Brendan Fraser.
Oh, good.
But no, it was a lot of fun. Can't wait to go again next year.
That sounds amazing. I am very jealous.
The one thing I will say that I was disappointed about with New York Comic Con, because I thought maybe they do something fun with this, but they didn't, was Werewolf by Night came out on Disney Plus during Comic Con. I was hoping there'd be like a screening or some like premiere
Mm,
there, and there wasn't. They mostly just put it on the cover of the program. But I waited until I got home from Comic Con to watch this. It's a Marvel Studios special presentation, so it's a short film, about 50 minutes long. Devin, you look confused.
yeah, it's Marvel.
Yes,
What?
yeah, it's
Oh,
in the MCU. Like, this is an MCU story.
is it?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm upset because I didn't know that. Because I saw like a picture of it, and I didn't see the Marvel logo on it because it's
Hmm.
usually kind of emblazoned all over it. And I just figured it was like, hey, the guys that did the High School Musical live action thing wrote a werewolf thing,
No,
and now we have it here.
no, this is a Marvel thing.
Wow.
Werewolf by Night is a character who's been in the comics for forever. And he's not the only familiar face from the comics that shows up in this.
Oh my
Um,
God, is it Human by Day? Do they show up?
no, Man Thing shows up.
It's an even worse named character than I was
Um,
guessing. Great.
but what really got me excited for this was who directed this. It is
Who?
directed by Michael Giacchino,
Interesting.
the
Okay.
composer. He also does the music for it. But I was really interested to see what he did as a director, and I was very impressed by it. So I figured you would want to know about this.
So I do now. Sell me on this. So you said that these things that you tell me. So
Mm-hmm.
before we had a conversation, you said I'm going to try to sell you on these
Yes.
things. I am like now this much interested in it.
Okay.
Before it was a flatline zero. Now I'm a little bit interested. The name is horrible, and they needed to have picked a better superhero name. But is he like a superhero? Is he like
I
also a part of like the Hell's Kitchen gang
I
that no one
I would
talks
like
about?
the Midnight Suns type thing. Yeah, he's kind of like
Yeah.
in that vein. It's very it's very Marvel. It's got light. It's got that bit of humor that you always get with Marvel, but it also
Sure.
has it's very gory for a Marvel thing. It's
Oh.
in black and white, but they have a great use of color throughout it, which is tricky, but when you watch it, it makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
It's a great self-contained story, and I think if you have an hour to dedicate to it, it's definitely worth watching.
Mm-hmm. And he's not also going to be like a young Avenger now, is
No,
he?
no,
Okay, I'm sold.
yeah.
Got it. Great.
But yeah, that's on.
I heard about Jake Paul Hulk, and I'm mad about it.
Yeah, I didn't even bring up She-Hulk. I'm going to be talking about that with Josh hopefully later this week. But
Good.
the other thing I wanted to sell you on is Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power has finished its first season.
Yes, I need to know about this.
It finally gave some answers about like the show doesn't really focus too much on the mystery. Like it focuses. There's two mysteries in the show. Who is this one character? Who is this other character? And it answered one, and it started to answer another. But I think you'd be very satisfied with the answer that we got for the one.
Okay.
I am mad at you for not watching this. I think I'm a bigger Lord of the Rings fan than you now because I've seen this whole show. I just finished the audiobook of The Hobbit today. But
so
I think this first season was a lot of setup for where they want to go with it, and I think they have it planned out hopefully fairly well. That it seems like the next season is going to be a lot more fast paced, and a lot of the issues people have had with this show are going to be addressed because of the way the show is structured.
Sure.
But I think this is right up your alley.
Well, so the only thing I really knew about it is that like someone came out and said like if you didn't like season 1, you'll love season 2. And like sure, but like isn't this renewed for like 7 seasons? Like there's no risk of it not having that second season.
Yeah,
right?
I mean Jeff Bezos is like just throwing all the money at it. He's like, my precious, and just throwing money.
I love that you're back in that headspace. That makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you need. I mean, you definitely need to check this out, especially now that the whole first season's out.
I mean, I'm sold on it. I really am. Is it bingeable though, or because there's that mystery? Is it a bit like WandaVision where I need to take my time with it?
It's bingeable. They're long episodes though.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, some of the episodes were over an hour. I'm like, oh man, I don't have time for this. Like, I don't like.
Right.
I would start watching it late. It's like I can't watch this tonight. So they're long episodes, but I think if you do one a night, or you can do a few back to back, I think you'll get through it.
Then it's doable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so on my list. I just haven't had a second to sit down and watch TV yet.
Yeah.
And that's my problem.
That's all right.
So I mean, it's probably first on my list once I do.
Yeah. And then the other one that we've talked about on the show before in connection to Rings of Power is House of the Dragon.
You can't convince me this is good. You can't.
It gets better with each week.
Does it?
It does. And if you would have told me after the Game of Thrones finale that I'd actually be looking forward to a Game of Thrones spinoff, I would have laughed at you, but
right, because that's where I'm at.
Like I wait until 9:00 on Sunday and I watch it right away. I'm really enjoying the show. I think it does.
Okay.
It's getting into like the same kind of. They keep doing the time jumps, and they're getting to the point now where the time jumps are getting. There's less time in between them because they're getting to their main story they want to tell. But I think this whole first season has been really good setup for the character dynamics. and they switched actresses for the two main characters because
Yeah.
they aged up so much with the time jumps, and I think they both are doing a great job. I think it's a seamless transition, but it's really good. Like, I'm really enjoying it. It reminds me of what Game of Thrones used to be.
Like back when everybody loved it and was obsessed
Yeah.
with it. Because I'm still at the point where I see people posting about it and I just groan and roll my eyes. I'm like, no. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if my heart's ready for that yet.
I didn't think I was either, but it's time, Devin. You've had it.
Okay. I might have to go back.
Yeah.
I might have to go back in. Should I start with this one or should I start with Lord of the Rings? I will watch both, but pretend I have an hour a night.
House of the Dragon is more bingeable.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, because because of the time jumps, like there's like it's bingeable, but you can also like take a break in between them and not really be confused. But I just think Rings of Power is not bingeable because it's so long, like the episodes.
Yeah.
But you like Lord of the Rings Extended Edition, so I think you'll be fine. So
That's true, and I sat down and watched them all in one sitting.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's all I've got for we watch this. So
I mean, you sold me on most of them. I'm like half there on House of Dragon. I'm sure I'll love it. I'm sure I will, but I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Never.
Oh no,
never
are we
mind.
talking about more?
No. That's all I've got. I almost spoiled something already, and I was like, nope, I'll save that for later.
Oh, good. Okay.
But yeah, let's get into tonight's main topic: the 2019 film Midsommar.
Perfect. So today we are talking about a little horror movie that some of you might have heard of. It's by one of my, I think, new favorite horror directors. It's Midsommar. It's a 2019 film, as Alan had said. It stars Florence Pugh. It stars Jack Raynor. It stars Wilhelm Blomgren. It stars William Joseph Harper, Will Poulter, a whole bunch of other people. Those are just kind of the ones that I knew straight away without really looking them up. This movie is by the same director that did Heredity, and we had done that earlier. It's Ari Aster. Ari Aster is an interesting director, where if I recall, he's the one that said that he has 6 movies in him, and he wants to do 6 movies, and each movie is deliberate. Each movie has a reason to be made, and this is movie number 2. So far, he is stuck in the vein of horror movies. I think he's crushing it. This is a movie that I had seen literally about a week ago. This is one of the reasons why I didn't watch any TV shows for the podcast, and I'm glad it got to be my pick. Now, I understand this probably might be my last time for picking a movie ever, based on the time I did this before was 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and now this is the movie. But Alan, what did you think? You've never seen this movie before, right?
I have not seen this movie before, but I have a story about it. I got this from my local library back in 2020 during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I got charged for it because I never returned it. It's like, no, I returned this. I returned it with everything that I got. Like, no, you didn't. So I was like, okay, then I guess I'm paying for this copy of Midsommar that just disappeared. And then we had found it behind a bookshelf. So I own this on DVD. So I was able to watch it that way instead of having to rent it from iTunes last night.
Good.
So I had never gotten around to watching it when I took it out. That's why I didn't realize that I had lost it. But because I watched it on DVD, I got the preview for Hereditary on Blu-ray and DVD. So that kind of put me in the headspace for this is what this movie's going to be. Oh boy.
Now, I want to say something.
Yes.
I was thinking about this today. Alan, I think you watched it under the director's intended circumstances with a fever.
Yeah. I think my fever came back during it. So, yeah.
We're not saying correlation equals causation, but guys, there's something here.
Yeah, there's something there. Yeah.
What did you think?
It's interesting. There's a lot to dissect here. I've got a lot of questions, and I'm hoping you have the answers for them.
Amazing.
But I think Florence Pugh is fantastic. I was surprised by the rest of the cast that I recognized. Um,
Was it Cheaty? Did you
Cheaty, yeah.
recognize Cheaty?
I straight up
Love
said to my
Cheaty.
wife, like, The Good Place has ruined me because I'm watching this movie and every time he's on screen, I just think of Cheaty,
Yeah,
and
no, for
it
real.
doesn't help that he's working on a thesis. Uh,
Yeah.
but then Will Poulter, who's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 next year.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he's playing Adam Warlock.
Oh, that's fun. Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can say I enjoyed this, but I appreciate this film.
Okay, so genuinely, I enjoyed it. Without kind of like ruining any of my thoughts on it, I actually really, really like this movie.
Now,
I don't know that I'm going to go back and watch it as much as Heredity, but I will watch this
now,
again.
did you watch this for the first time recently?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is a pretty recent watch of mine. So this isn't like I watched it when it first came out, but this is one of those movies that like, and I don't know that it says something specifically about me, good or bad, but I've been recommended this movie a lot. Like I've had a lot of people go, Devin, you should watch Heredity, and I after watching it, I don't know if I'm taking that as an insult from here on out, but thanks everyone because I liked it.
Um, yeah. So, where do we want to start with this movie?
So I think we should start with my favorite place, and that is how Ari Aster describes his movies.
Okay.
So Ari Aster describes his first movie as a family drama movie. As Heredity is just a family drama movie. This movie is a breakup movie.
That
Think it fits?
I mean, they definitely break up.
It's fair. I mean, I think that's one of my favorite parts of the movie is watching this slow decay of a relationship that was literally doomed from scene one, but they stayed together because of circumstances. And literally, you watch them deteriorate as the movie goes on. I thought that was really not. I thought it was interesting to watch.
Yeah, because right from the get go, like she's like worried that she's too much for him and like
Yeah.
overreacting to all this stuff with her sister. And then he's like, yeah, I don't know. Like all his friends are kind of like egging him on to break it off. And then tragedy happens with her sister and her parents. And
Do
it's
we
like,
want to talk about the tragedy?
yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. Did you expect it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is kind of Ari Aster's thing, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I definitely felt like something was up when we saw them sleeping through the message.
Yeah.
I don't know who keeps the answering machine right next to their bed, though.
Yeah, it's a strange place
It's a
for
strange
it.
place,
Yeah.
but I guess it works. So, um,
Yeah, because I was thinking about like I remember watching the movie and coming off of it and going, "Wow, that was so different from Heredity." And then I was like, "Wait a minute, was it?" I think like tone wise, sure, but like literal plot beats, not really.
comparing this to Hereditary,
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
it starts off with a death in the family.
yes,
It then moves on to the main character, who is a woman in a kind of relatively supernatural or relatively horror movie situation. Uh, she eventually gets wrapped up in it more than she was expecting to when the movie started. It then ends with a tragedy of even greater proportion happening in a wooden shed of some sort in the backyard of a thing.
the only difference is no one's allergic to nuts in this.
It's true.
Yeah,
That part's true. Still a lot of stuff with people's heads, though.
yeah. I'm just looking at the IMDb trivia here quick, and I guess they had to cut 30 minutes of this film because it was rated NC-17, and they had to cut 30 minutes. Oh, there is a director's cut.
There is, and I'm actually really upset I didn't watch that version.
Uh,
So that's when I mentioned I'm gonna watch it again. That's what I'm watching.
I'm assuming that has to deal with the other people who die off screen.
I don't know,
Yeah.
because we get, even in this movie, we get full explanations of what happens to those people that die off screen. They're just very, very subtle.
Yeah. But I feel like the stuff that is done to them would have to be cut to appease the Motion Pictures Association of America.
That's fair. I heard one of the major things that were cut was you watched Florence Pugh very, very much go crazier and crazier and crazier as the movie goes on. And towards the end, you kind of get it. Like, I guess the smile at the end could be interpreted in a couple of different ways, but the easiest and the most Ari Aster approved read of it is she's officially broken and she's now crazy. And apparently, some of the scenes in the director's cut help to fill that in, where you now, there's no ambiguity behind the smile.
See, I didn't really read it as crazy there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I read it as her being free from that relationship because I think it was a weight on her the whole time and
Mm-hmm.
it was finally over. And I think that's how I read it. But
Well, it's
I can
interesting,
see how that can be read as her going insane.
like finally breaking. Well, it's interesting because Florence Pugh's interpretation of that scene is that she was just charmed by how pretty it was and didn't know that her now ex-boyfriend was in there.
But she had to know,
Which
right?
she almost had to, right? You don't
She,
not know.
she was
She
okay.
she had to make.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll get to
yeah.
spoilers in a minute. So first off, let's talk about one of the most striking things about this movie. Tell me about the setting. What did you think about the setting of this movie? This is one of the first horror movies that I've seen that takes place almost entirely in broad daylight. Did it work for you?
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting to have a horror movie set during the daytime and like they even talk about it's 9 p.m. at night, but the sun's still out. And where were they? Sweden?
It was supposed to be Sweden. They were actually filming in Hungary.
Okay. I mean, from a filmmaking standpoint, shooting during the day for night stuff, where the sun's always out, like just makes it easier. Because you don't have to worry.
Oh,
About,
does
you don't
it?
have to worry about lights. You don't have to worry about the sun changing. You just have to make sure the sky's blue.
Right.
I was expecting a Muppet to be making all of their food. Bork bork. I was disappointed that didn't happen.
Aw.
Imagine this. So you ever hear the thing on the internet like take a movie and replace all the actors except for one with Muppets?
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
that with this. Like Florence Pugh is the only actress left.
Oh my! Actually, I really love this, and I'm now mad the Muppets aren't doing it.
Yeah. Yet.
Oh, yeah,
What
they should.
what
Oh, there's so many good jokes.
once Disney buys out A24. Um
Oh, okay. Once we get to spoilers, I'm gonna have to start talking about some of the jokes.
yeah.
Because there are some obvious Muppet connections that I'm already excited about.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you feel about the horror elements in this? Because it's definitely, I think, more of a creeping horror and more of a like situational and tonal horror than what we got in Heredity.
Yeah, it's definitely a slow burn. There's no moments that made me go "Hoo!" like just watching it. Like Hereditary with the pole.
Yeah.
Um, I was kind of relieved at that. I was worried it was going to be a lot of like jump scares and like moments, like cringe moments like that. But
Yeah.
everything that is scary in this, I kind of saw coming. So it
Okay.
wasn't really like it snuck up on you. Like it was kind of like, okay, this
Mhm.
is how this is going to happen. This was going to happen.
You kind of figure that something bad's gonna
Yeah.
happen when something bad happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have to start talking about some of the weirder stuff that happens because I mean, so a lot of it is essentially like the Swedish cult, I'll call it. It's not. Ari Aster wouldn't agree with us calling it a cult. He would call it a commune. But were they at all creepy to you, like just in and of themselves? Because I very much found a lot of what happened and a lot of what put me like ill at ease in this movie was centered around them and not knowing what they would do and how they would react, and they put me on edge.
Yeah. It was kind of, they were very hard to read, partly because not many of them spoke English, and there's just something
Yep.
unsettling about the all in white thing.
Yeah.
And I think this film does a great job with color, but mostly in the costumes. Like they're all wearing white, and then like over time you see Florence Pugh start to embrace that, but like her boyfriend is still wearing his American clothes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I call it a commune, call it a cult, whatever you want to call it. It's weird. Like I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid.
No, 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 no. Okay, so we got to talk about the Kool-Aid because I was reading the facts about the movie before this,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a detail about one of the things that Florence Pugh's boyfriend drinks
Okay.
that I didn't know. So there's a scene at the table where they're all drinking lemonade.
Okay.
Boyfriend's cup's a little more red than the rest of them, and I went, "Oh, they gave him drugs." The assumption wasn't drugs. Alan, did you catch what this was? You don't
Uh,
have to say it out loud, but just give me a stern nod.
I think it was
Yeah,
yeah.
it was. Yep, it was some kind of
Yeah.
blood.
Okay.
I didn't catch it until I
Um
read this, and then stupid me, they show that. They literally show that like mural that they painted, and
mhm.
they were like, "Oh, this is the process," and I just went, "Ew, gross," and then immediately wiped it from my mind and didn't think it would come up again.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Thankfully there's no binging with Babish on Midsummer recipes.
Oh
Um
God.
yeah, so
Oh,
let's talk about the murals in this because there's a
yeah.
lot and it's like there's so much to like to go back and pause. But
Mm-hmm.
from the very beginning of the movie, like there's a mural at the front and I was like, "Oh, that's going to be that's the
This
whole
one.
movie right there."
Oh, did you catch that? That was going to be the
Yeah,
whole
I was
movie.
like, I know how this is going to work. This is going to be the whole movie. Um,
You were so cynical watching this.
I mean, I've been
You're
doing a
like,
podcast with
I
you for the
got it.
last 4 years, so it's rubbed off.
Totally,
Uh,
totally fair.
but yeah, so you like, let's talk about this. So you've got her
Yep.
family dying in the first
Uh-huh.
one in winter. You have her being sad about it and her boyfriend comforting her. You have them.
Yeah, but then look who's above them.
Is that the friend,
I think that's Pele.
the soccer
Yeah,
player?
the Swedish friend.
Okay.
I
Um,
like that.
and then you have them traveling. Then they arrive, and then they're with the cult, and you've got the cliff there with the people falling, and then
Oh, you
you've got the
do.
maypole.
And then
Um,
you have the bear on there.
okay, let's talk about the bear because the bear.
Okay. I mean, we're gonna have to get into spoilers now, so this is gonna
Oh
be
no! This isn't even spoilers. This has to do with what I
okay.
found on the DVD after I watched this movie.
What did you
I
find on the DVD?
I sent it in the group chat last night. The way they marketed this movie was one of the trailers was just a video about a toy that was bear in a cage, and they were selling little bear figures in cages. And that's like it's a super cheesy commercial for these bears in cages. And at the very end, you just see the
Weird.
clip of them like, are we gonna just ignore the bear? And that's just like Midsommar coming soon. And I was like, that's how you marketed this movie? Like that is so out of left field.
I kind of love that.
I do
though.
too, but I was like, really? Like it completely caught me off guard.
Can you buy the bears in a cage? Because
I
I
think
would buy the
so.
bear
I
in
think
a
you still
cage.
can. Yeah.
Okay, I'm buying a bear in a cage.
Yeah.
Did you hear the other marketing stunt they did for the movie?
No.
So they offered free couples counseling with every ticket to the movie, or one session of free couples counseling with every ticket to the movie. Which, sure, why not?
It's an expensive ticket.
It is an expensive ticket. Oh, I just like this guy. I like this Ari Aster guy. I like what he's doing. Give me more left field weirdo horror movies that aren't like, oh, it's weird because I don't know, he kills him with a pitchfork instead of a knife.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that. I want something like this that, like, I don't know, feels very creative and very
I
original.
was reading up on his next movie.
Tell me all about it.
It's called Disappointment Boulevard, a
Okay.
decade-spanning portrait of one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time. That's all we know about the plot. Let me tell you what this cast, though.
Okay.
Joaquin Phoenix,
Oh,
Parker Posey,
okay.
Amy Ryan, Nathan Lane,
Oh.
Zoe Lister-Jones, Patti LuPone,
Uh-huh.
and Michael Gandolfini.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, all right, I'm sold. I mean, I'll watch anything Ari Aster produces literally just on its face
I
value.
mean,
So if that's going to be the cast of this next
I feel
movie.
like you watched Only Murders in the Building. It was like, oh, I'm going to steal the supporting actors from that.
Yes.
So
Yes, exactly. My goodness. No, I love it.
yeah.
So, okay. This is a horror movie. We have to start talking about some of the horror movie tropes that come in this movie. One of the horror movie tropes that comes up in the movie is there is a sex scene. Alan, this scene made me so uncomfortable the whole time. From second 1 to second 837 of this sex scene, I was the most uncomfortable I think I've ever been in my life. At one point, I think I just shouted into the living room where Romano was sitting. I'm like, "There's so much nudity in this, and I don't love it." I Did you have the same reaction?
No. Um,
Loved it. 10 out of 10.
no, I didn't. I mean, I think it's meant to make you uncomfortable.
It was so effective for me
Yeah.
though.
Because the way they frame it though is so weird. Because
Oh
like the way they
yeah.
use her legs to like block him as he's walking up to her is like
Mm-hmm.
very bizarre. Um, I really like the contrast between that scene with him and everyone around him like cheering him on, and then her reacting to it and everyone around her like screaming in agony with her. Like I really like the contrast between the two, like as
Mm-hmm.
their relationship comes to an end. Now that I know this is a breakup film, like that, like I can process it a little bit more now.
Like that scene
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
is a little bit more interesting. And but I mean that's the thing, is that's kind of like those two moments are kind of what the whole thing is building up to,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's when you get like the weird like meat pie that the guy was given, and that's where you get the glass of gross, and then that's where you like, I mean it's literally leading up to that scene for him. The whole time you're just like, he's gonna cheat on her. They're gonna break up. He's gonna cheat on her. And then you get that reaction. But I thought what was so interesting was how it was orchestrated by, aided by, and facilitated by the cult.
Mm-hmm.
Like every bit of it, they essentially had a hand in it. And for me, that helped with some of the horror because you literally saw them indoctrinating Florence Pugh's Danny the whole time. Like I came into it going, okay, great. One or all of these American people are going to be in this cult by the end of this movie. And I wasn't entirely wrong.
Well, I think she was the easiest target for them because she had just lost all of her family and she
Mm-hmm.
was on the verge of losing her boyfriend. And they took the boyfriend because they needed some fresh DNA because of all the inbreeding.
Yes.
Which was a weird subplot. And I don't know if it actually like did anything to add to the movie beyond that, but
I mean, I don't know that it did because there was the subplot of like, oh, this one character gets to choose, who the next to die is going to be or whatever. But I don't know that it paid off, to be honest.
yeah. Um
Yeah,
yeah,
I forgot about that subplot. Thank you for reminding me of that.
you're welcome.
So, okay, next horror movie trope we then have to talk about is we have to talk about the gore.
Mhm.
So this movie does have, once it gets ramped up, a pretty high degree of gore.
Yes.
How was it? Because I know that for you specifically, I know that gore gets to be uncomfortable.
Um the cliff thing's hard for me to watch.
Yeah,
just because
cliff thing was hard.
of my own personal experiences.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but like the way they presented it with showing her reaction before you see anything, and the way they
Yeah.
used the camera in that, I really appreciated.
Mm.
The gore afterwards was kind of more comical than anything for me because it's so ridiculous in that part.
Mm.
And then when they find the one strung up in the chick the chicken coop,
Chicken coop. Yeah.
like I still don't know what was going on there. Like, was it their lungs?
Can
Like,
can I tell you?
yes,
So a lot about this film isn't made up. I mean, the plot and the cult is made up, but a lot of the rituals that are portrayed in the film are actually real rituals that Ari Aster took from real cultures. What specifically happened in that chicken coop was something that the Vikings used to do, and it was called the screaming eagle. And specifically, what they would do for that is they would open up your back, break your ribs in the back, and then they would pull your lungs out behind you and splay them out like eagle wings. And that guy was still breathing because apparently you were still kind of conscious and breathing for that whole thing. And in the Muppet version, that's where Sam the Eagle is. That was it. That was what I the second you were like Muppets. I'm like,
or
got it.
Big Bird.
Even better.
Uh,
And literally it doesn't have to be gory. He's just hanging up there and he goes, hey, whenever the main character runs in, and that's the whole joke.
So wait, who? I think we just talked about who Miss Piggy plays.
Yeah, we did. Absolutely, we did.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like there were more things like that with the other people that we don't see, like Chidi and
Yeah.
yeah. So the Will Poulter character,
Yes.
I'm assuming that was somebody wearing his face.
It was.
Okay.
So what happened was he peed on the ancestral tree.
Yes.
And then they were like, come over here. And then you never saw him again until essentially they're propping him up. But you notice that when they propped him up, so somebody was wearing his face, and when they propped him up, he was mostly stuffed with like hay.
Yeah.
So at one point after he disappears, you see a bunch of kids run along, and someone asks Pele, what are those kids doing? And he goes, oh, they're playing Skin the Fool. That's and he's wearing a jester hat when you see him in the end. That's what the kids are doing. The kids are skinning their friend. And when Pele was like, oh, I'm just gardening, he's burying Chidi. Or no, I think it was, he's burying Chidi.
Okay.
Or at least his foot. So like every one of the kills that you don't necessarily see on screen, you at least hear a character acknowledge that it's currently happening.
Okay.
Which I thought was really interesting about it.
Yeah. It kind of warrants a rewatch. Good thing I own this.
Yeah, I mean it's little stuff like that. It's stuff like the murals, and the whole time, especially the bedroom that they stayed in had murals on the walls too.
Yeah.
And I kept going, I'll definitely remember that in case that comes up again, and then immediately forgot about. So I'm sure those murals come up at least once in the movie too.
I'm sure. Was there anything else you want to talk about horror trope wise?
Yes, the most specific and most weird horror trope of all, the dude wearing a bear costume. Specifically, did Nicolas Cage do it better?
When did Nicolas Cage do it?
In Wicker Man.
I've never seen Wicker Man.
Oh God, Alan. Okay, so we're gonna have to watch Wicker Man, and I'll ask you this question again.
Not the bees.
No, not oh God.
Ah!
That's it. That's the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's so good. Okay, I can't wait to have you watch that then. What did you think about the whole end sequence then? Because that's kind of the thing that Ari Aster also does, is you kind of get, once you get to the end sequence, you kind of, everything falls into place. Like Hereditary. You see, the cult happen. You go, oh, that's what this is. And this one, you're like, God, they're leading up to this sacrifice. What did you think of that scene?
It didn't end the way I thought it would. Okay. I thought it was going to end with her dying. I thought they were going to sacrifice her. The whole time. So I was kind of caught off guard by the fact that she lives. Because I've always seen that picture of her in the dress of flowers and the crown. And I thought that was like her last moment before they light her on fire or something. Which is
Sure,
not
sure.
outside the realm of an Ari Aster film.
No.
Um, so I really thought she was going to die. So I was kind of caught off guard by that whole thing.
Hmm.
The blue light behind you looks nice and caught me off guard.
Sorry, it turned off and I had to
Yeah.
turn it back on.
But no, I was kind of surprised by I was surprised by the fact that she didn't die.
Hmm.
But beyond that, I kind of figured that's where everything was going when they said that yeah.
That's like a sacred place. We don't like
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely makes sense. I had a feeling it was something like that. For some reason, I was like, it's where they keep the bodies, and like didn't picture it because, especially once you watch The Wicker Man, you can definitely tell that there was a lot from this movie cribbed from that one. And I think that that was the most disappointing part of the movie for me is that that's almost shot for shot. I mean, not really, but kind of what Wicker Man was about.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, they're doing a Wicker Man. Got it.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing. And then last horror movie trope, drug use. There was a lot of drug use in this. They did the thing that in movies could either completely take me out of it or be completely fine, and that's showing a drug trip from their perspective. So you got to watch the world warp around them when they took the hallucinogenic mushrooms, for example.
And it's not even just
How? Yeah.
it's not even just when they take them. Like there's that scene
Mhm.
at the dinner table towards the end where the food on the table is just kind of warping on its own, and there are a lot of smaller moments like that where you don't think they're drugged but they actually are, and there's like little things that you can pick up on to make you feel like you're tripping, or if you have a fever and are watching this movie, get very confused by. Um,
Am I okay?
am I
Is the
okay?
movie
Like,
doing this?
what's in this tea? Um,
Aw.
but
My favorite moment of this is when they're carrying her on, like after she's crowned May Queen, and they're carrying her up on that like platform. As she goes by, you can see the sister's face in the tree with the hose sticking out of her mouth.
oh,
That is a really, really good moment that I really like.
okay, I missed that. I think I was so distracted by when she's being carried on that platform by the safety hazard that was her standing on that platform while it's being moved.
Right?
Yeah.
Like she's gonna fall.
Yeah. No, that's exactly where my mind went. I was like, I don't like this. OSHA violation.
OSHA would not
Yes.
approve this cult. Oh goodness.
For several reasons.
Mostly that one though. That one's the big one for them.
Yeah.
OSHA's very specific.
The other thing was at the end when they start to light the thing on fire,
Mhm.
like before, like the one guy just walks to the very back of of the building with a torch, and there's all this hay on the ground, and I'm just like, okay, what if one little spark drops and catches any of this on fire before you're in your position? Like, what happens then?
Right. I'm like, poor guy.
Yeah.
Like you got to get out of there.
Yeah.
And apparently he was fine. It was a very slow burning fire.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think. Last thing about this then. Would you go to Sweden?
Not this part of Sweden.
Perfect.
Um,
You would go.
I-
You'd go to Stockholm and
yeah. And then not like it at first, but then eventually be okay with it.
Good.
And appreciate it. So I have a question for you about the ending of this
Okay.
movie.
Yeah.
So at the end, when the tribute is being burned,
Mhm.
they all start screaming.
Mhm.
Why?
So I think that their deal with the cult is that they experience things as a cult. I think that's partly why they were together when the sex happened and they were doing the mimicking of that. I think that's why they were together with Florence Pugh and doing her mimicking. I think they were mimicking the screams of the two people that were still alive in that thing.
Okay.
And they were mimicking the screams at that point. And actually, if that's right, and you don't have it, I'm not entirely wrong. I think it's interesting because I think we get that shot of Florence Pugh who's crying, and I think that she's crying, and you see the barn behind her. I think she's crying for the barn. Then you get a shot of the cult, and you just see the cult, and I think they're crying because of the cult. And I think that's how they're setting up the shot in that way. I've been thinking a lot about this today.
Okay.
Was that your read on it too, or?
Yeah, I had a feeling that like because they give him the drugs for so you don't feel any pain, but
Yeah.
then obviously they feel pain. So I don't know if the drugs just didn't work, and that was them reacting to the pain that they were
Mhm.
feeling. I had a feeling it had something to do with what they were hearing. So
Yeah, my guess is it was just, it made them not care as much about the pain. But I mean, if you're burned alive, that's got to hurt at some point,
yeah.
right? Like, no amount of tree sap I put on your tongue is going to make you not make you enjoy burning to death.
Oh yeah. Um, I say as if I have some experience with that. No. That's all.
Really?
That's all I've got for Midsummer. Do you have anything else?
I think it's all I got. No, I think it's all I got for Midsummer too. I mean, it was a really good movie. I would definitely watch it again, and I'm now incredibly interested in what Ari Aster's coming out with next.
I am
Especially knowing
too.
what he's doing.
With that cast, I'll probably go see that in theaters.
Yeah.
So that brings us to announcing what we're doing next week.
Which you've been teasing me with all week, and
I
I don't know
have.
what it is.
We're gonna play a quick game here.
Oh, good. Okay, here we go.
So, what is the most horrifying movie to come out this year that I could make you watch, Devin?
The most horrifying movie that came out this year that you could make me watch. It's got to be. There's a couple of horror movies that came out this year. Hold on.
I'll give you 3 guesses.
Okay, 3 guesses. They are going to be. Oh, is it Nope?
No.
Oh, dang it. Okay. Is it? Oh, Michael Myers. The Death of Michael Myers, the most recent movie that's coming out with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Halloween Ends? No.
That one. Dang it. Okay. I get one more. Most horrifying. Is it The Cellar?
No.
That one also looked very. Oh, damn
It's
it. What is
it's
it?
Morbius starring Jared Leto. Yeah. So
Oh.
next, because vampires, Halloween, like it works.
Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. So join us next week on You Have to Watch This podcast, where I have Devin and Ryan both watch Morbius for the first time. If you want to watch along, it is now streaming on Netflix, so you do not have to go out and spend any money on this film if you have Netflix. But yeah, join us next week for Morbius. Ryan straight up told me, he's like, I thought I got away from not seeing that film. I was like, not on this show.
I was gonna ask what his reaction was. I'm so glad it was that. Oh.
Until then, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay up to date on our latest posts and whatever's going on with the show. I've been doing a lot of Photoshop things lately, so I'm sure I'll come up with something for Morbius.
Yes.
Probably removing Jared Leto altogether, and it'll be a lot of fun. You can listen to You Have to Watch This podcast on all major podcasting platforms. You can watch us live every Tuesday on Twitch, Facebook Live, and our YouTube page. You can find all of these links on our Instagram page. You Have to Watch This podcast, and you can check out our website and all the other Run Runners podcasts over on runrunnerspodcastnetwork.com. Until next time, for You Have to Watch This podcast, I am Alan.